And howdy, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tilson Live. We are so excited coming to you today. I am Eric Allard, Senior Vice President of Tilson Homes, part of the fourth generation of the Tilson family. And I'm joined once again by the legend, the finalist for Marketing Professional of the Year for the Texas Association of Builders, Mrs. Dawn Dantzler. Hello, Dawn.
Hi, everybody.
She loves it when I do these things. It's just fantastic. It's really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't
So,
tell.
what are we doing today, Dawn? What are we here for? What's going on?
So today we're going to talk about construction practices and processes. So just kind of talk about what you can expect to see after you've signed your agreement and we're getting your land prepped and we're going to actually start building your home.
Fantastic. Excited about that. Everyone, please jump in. Tell us where you are building. Tell us where you're watching from. We love to know where you guys are. We want to know any questions that, of course, that you have. We're going to watch them in the chat. So we'll be monitoring that. Dawn and her fabulous team monitors that chat. We're going to answer all of your questions. We are here live. We are transparent. We're here to give you all the information that we have that we can give you. We're the only builder doing this. We do it for free. So you guaranteed to get what you pay for.
You don't even have to sign up with an email address.
No, we don't gate this. We don't gate this. You just come in and get this information. We want you to be armed with fantastic information. We want you to have everything you need to make the best decision for you and your family when it comes to building a custom home on your land. So where are people watching from so far, Dawn?
So we got Julie very excited, just approved to build her new home, building in Montague County.
Congratulations, Julie.
Congratulations. It's awesome. We've got Will tuning in from Klondike.
Will, good to see you again, sir.
We got John over on YouTube telling us hi.
Hey, John, thanks for letting us know YouTube
Christopher from New Braunfels.
All right, Mr. Harrison.
James is awaiting his stakeout date. He's in McKinney building a Rockwall B.
All right.
Hugh, thank you for turning on the Rockwalls Interactive. You are welcome.
Thanks for staying on her, Hugh. We appreciate that. She got it
done. Wesley is watching in Phoenix, Arizona, building in Greenville. Awesome. James is in Marble Falls, getting a Velasco.
Pretty area.
And we have another Eric, howdy from Flower Mound. Aggies signed to build our LaSalle in San Saba County. Eagerly awaiting site valuation. Awesome.
There's news out there of our brethren in Austin.
Yes, all this conference shakeup.
Yeah, making an escape. We're not going to turn this into a sports talk show, I promise. Even though we both do take our college football
very seriously.
Pretty doggone seriously.
Yeah.
As y'all probably know, Dawn went to Clemson, and they apparently are contenders year in and year out for this thing called the college football playoff. It's not something we're familiar with in College Station necessarily. But we hope one day, if we spend enough money on coaches, we will in fact get to participate. And if Alabama,
or maybe you should just hire the 31-year-old that no one's ever heard of.
No. We're hoping for a bye year from Alabama, and if we get the whole year as a bye, then they're bound to get in trouble for something and be ineligible, and then we'll swoop in.
Them's fighting words.
I don't have any inside knowledge or anything. I'm just a kid can dream. Okay, that's all. A kid from College Station can dream. But anyway, thanks, Eric. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. So you guys might actually end up playing Texas again.
Who? I'm sorry. Pardon? I don't.
That other team.
Yes.
The wrong color orange. Those guys.
Roger.
That's not orange, folks.
We know we got some good Longhorn fans on here, so we enjoy the good banter. Y'all bear with us.
Still not orange.
There was a time where we did play that school year in and year out. And it was a lot of fun. So.
See, that's weird to me. Clemson can't escape their little brother, so it's strange to me.
Our little brother's following us, or crazy ex-girlfriend, one of them. Whatever. However you decide that we were going somewhere else, and they're coming. And anyway,
somebody started a rumor that Clemson had approached the SEC as well, and Clemson is like, no, we did not.
Why would they do that? If you do that, we're going to the ACC.
I know. Why would we leave? That's just silly.
All right. So who else is joining us? We can get this show on the road.
Sorry, guys. Kenneth actually has a question. Is it a good practice to use the dirt and grass that was scraped to start the dirt pad in the sloped sides of the dirt pad?
You certainly can, Kenneth. I mean, it's going to be more about, obviously the grass that's there is natural. I'm guessing wherever you were, it grows without you having to water. Although where you are, I happen to know firsthand that you're getting a lot of water. So you're getting naturally irrigated, or had been for the last, 4 months. So yeah, I mean, it's going to grow the best, obviously bringing in soil from somewhere else and putting on there. Will it grow? Will it not? You don't know, but yeah, certainly to dress up the sides of the dirt pad, that material is perfectly fine to do that.
Okay.
Because there are going to be parts of the pad that as it rains, water does kind of cut into that on the sides where it slopes down. But it's not anything structural. It's not a bad thing. It can turn into that if not attended to. But yeah, using the spoil, what we call the spoil material, or the material that we scraped out of the way, perfectly fine to dress around there. That's a great idea.
Okay, perfect. We've got Linda tuning in from Colorado Springs.
Linda, see, they're not just saying hi to you. They say hi to me too.
Yes, of course they do. John is living in Kyle, moving to Driftwood and building a rock wall.
Beautiful.
We've got Courtney staking out right outside Marble Falls this Saturday.
All right.
Let's see. Martina's saying hello to both of us from Colleen, moving to Avant. Just had the stakeout last week. It was a great meeting with John.
Awesome. Yeah, John McIntyre does a good job.
We've got Alma, who is building a canyon in New Caney. John is jealous of Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah, it's yeah, I bet it would be nice. It's probably not, although it's been hot there, but it's pretty steamy down here right now. Pretty steamy.
Love that.
Yeah.
Wesley says hook 'em horns.
We deserve that.
We did. We did talk some smack. It's fine.
We deserve that.
Leo is tuning in.
He left us hanging. It's okay, Leo.
He did.
I like
there we go. He's building the Magnolia in Angelina County.
I like the anticipation. He does the build-up.
Tanya is from San Antonio, building in Spring Branch.
There's be a lot of folks building in Spring Branch. That's great.
Hi guys, building in Bear County. Wondering if we can add a sidewalk path added to the driveway.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know what stage of construction that you're in, but yes, I mean, so driveway, what we refer to as flat work, which is basically just 4-inch thick concrete with some type of steel in it. It's not slab. Driveway, sidewalk, all of that is just considered flat work. In other words, there's no beams dug traditionally. So we sell it. It's typically calculated by the square foot. So depending on, exactly where it is and all that kind of good stuff and what contractor you're going to be using, you can get that priced out with the driveway. So yeah, we just calculate how much sidewalk you want, how wide it is. And even in Aggie land, they teach us length times width. And so whatever the square footage is, that's what it's going to be. So yep.
Perfect. And let's see, Wesley's also saying signed on May 1st, already had his stakeout done, just waiting on the next step. Awesome.
Okay, very cool, Wes. We're probably getting foundation stuff ordered, soils and engineered foundation designs and all that, which we are going to talk about shortly.
Yes, we are. So let's do that.
Get it. Guys, drop your questions. We are talking about construction processes. We're going to talk about, we're going to talk about some delays that are still going on. We're going to talk about some struggles that are occurring in the supply chain. Definitely want to make it relevant to you guys. So ask questions. Drop your questions in the chat. We'll monitor them and answer them. But we are going to get rolling on our presentation. So for those of you who don't know, we are a build on your land home builder, and we build in rural Texas. Most of you probably know that by now. But yeah, that's what we do. Been doing it for 4 generations. Next year is our 90th anniversary, God willing. We'll make it there. So 2021, who knows?
It's gonna be fine.
I didn't get to see the trailer for 2022, but we're gonna go ahead and guns blazing. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, we've built tens of thousands of homes, and on average, a family a day moves into their new forever Tilson home, and we're grateful for each and every one of those families, including you guys. So behind the scenes, there's some stuff happening. Dawn, tell us a little bit about what's happening that the customer may not be seeing before it gets into construction. Like, why can't we just take the slick that they like from your beautiful award-winning website? It is an award-winning website, and just take it and start building with that. Like, what's the problem?
So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, if you've normally built in a subdivision situation, there's a lot of stuff that happened before you arrived. And when you're building with us, we've got to do all of that stuff with you together. So where we're going to start out is looking at kind of the plot plan and looking at your floor plan. So we have to actually look at your property, figure out where we're going to place your home in that space, and then actually design your floor plan, because very few people, as I'm sure you guys know if you've watched any of our other videos, very few build them exactly as they are on my website. So we've got to like get all those changes done and make sure everything's right with that. So once we've kind of figured all of that out, we're going to do your foundation plan and your geotechnical investigation. So they're actually going to be pulling some dirt samples from exactly on your property where you'll be building your home, and we'll get into that more specific later on in this. We've also, if you're in an area that needs a building permit, we've got to get all of that figured out, pay any of those permitting fees, things like that. There's going to be septic permitting that's required. All of these things that have to be done before we can start doing your home. The next step in there is looking at those plans that we've put together and reviewing them, making sure that they're all to code, particularly with energy, that everything looks good. And we're going to run your manual J to calculate out exactly what size HVAC you need. And that's based on exactly where your home is and how much glass it is, what direction it faces, very, very customized exactly to your home. We're also going to look at community requirements. So if you are building in a neighborhood where there is, an architectural control committee or an architectural review committee, whatever they like to call themselves, we're going to look and make sure that we have matched up to all of their requirements, and actually in some cases have to get a formal approval from them. So we're going to put that whole application together and work on that with you guys. Then we're going to get everything scheduled. So figuring out exactly, getting everything ordered, also figuring out what order the labor is going to get there, making sure that everybody's showing up at the right time.
And right now, this is kind of like this. It's just kind of
it's a little wonky right now. We're doing the best we can. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We used to be like, it was step 1, step 2, step 3, and it was a very orderly process. And now we're having to be a little bit more flexible. With what we're doing with that. And then also if you're in an area that is subject to windstorm requirements, so any county that is bordering the Gulf of Mexico, there's some extra steps that we have to take just to make sure that we are complying with all of those regulations.
Very much. And so, but before we can do a whole lot on your land, and it does vary from place to place, we are going to need utilities. You're definitely going to need them by the time you move in.
Yes.
But in most cases, actually in all cases on the septic and sewer items, the county or city or whatever entity in which you find yourself living, they're going to want to know what you're doing for water and how you are disposing of this water.
Right.
That is a big deal in the state of Texas. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ, they write the rules and regs on how you get rid of wastewater. So, but first we're going to need to know how's power coming in. A lot of our customers, it's just complete virgin land. Like there's never been any type of power there, no structure, no mobile home, no nothing. It's just vacant land, and power may be, quite a ways away. We'll talk about that in a minute. You're gonna need water. You have a water well, or there's some type of either city water, which probably fewer than 9% of our customers have. And then you have community water supply corps, which are what most of our customers have. And then water wells, which is probably about 30 to 40% of our customers. So, and then how we're getting rid of the wastewater. All those things will have to be answered, talked about really prior to construction, but they have to be done in conjunction during construction. And we'll need your help for these things.
Yes.
So power is a big one. And it can be, there are, like with everything else right now, there are very long lead times to get power ran to your property if you don't already have power somewhere. Sometimes your neighbors have power, neighbor behind you, neighbor beside you, makes it a little bit easier, neighbor across the street from you maybe. But in some cases, if you're on 30, 40, 50 acres, there's nobody within, everybody else has these 20, 30 acre tracts that they've never built a home on. It may be a couple miles away is the nearest power. You're gonna have to get with the co-op or the cooperative and meet a representative out there from that power company, and they're going to give an estimate on what it's going to cost to get power delivered to your site. We do provide the temporary pole, so you don't have to worry about that, but we will have to have them run power. In some cases, they want the temporary pole set first, and then they'll run the power. No problem. In some cases, they do not want the T-pole there first. They want to run their power, and then we come set the temporary pole. Either way, doesn't make any difference to Tilson. Just let us know, and we'll help you navigate through that. And then once the home's built, obviously you connect the permanent, and it can be overhead or underground. This particular example is overhead electrical power. You can actually see the transformer way back here in the distance. This is the actual power company's power lines running back here. And then they brought poles through here. So get with your local power provider. They'll walk you through the process of getting that done. Then we have to have water.
Mm-hmm.
You can only go 3 days without water. Was it 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food? I don't think I can do
Sure.
3 weeks without food.
Yeah, I don't.
3 days without water. Well, we can go a little longer than that, but not much. There are some things that we need water for. Earliest in the process is we definitely have to have it to do paint. So we have to do some cleaning up, and we also have to have it obviously do any kind of masonry work. We have to have water there, but this will most likely be determined way before this in your site evaluation, which we'll talk about here in a second. But we definitely are going to have water. You'll need to know where that's going to be, particularly if it's a water well, because that will play into the septic design, because TCEQ has rules and regulations about the proximity that septic systems and septic sprinkler heads can be relative to water wells, including your neighbor's water wells. So all that plays into the design. So we need to know, we can't just go out there willy-nilly and put the well wherever we want to, and or the septic wherever we want to. Those kind of offset one another. If you have some type of community water source, it's a little bit easier situation. There's not the barrier, because this is not where the water source is. This water source is miles and miles and miles away, and this is just being delivered via pipe. So, but whereas a water well, the source is down in the ground, 200, 300, 400 feet, maybe more. And then we'll go from there. And then, Dawn, what do we do with the wastewater? This is potty talk. What do we do with this?
Well, I mean, there's two options here. Some of our customers are going to be in an area, but it's few. But you might have a community sewer system that's available to you. In that case, you're going to contact that company and find out what the tap fees are and get connected. But 90% of our customers are going to require a septic system. So that's what Eric's been talking about. You'll need a registered sanitarian who is someone who is licensed to design septic systems to actually design your system and help you apply for that permit, which is something we can assist with as well. But it's going to have to be designed by a professional and installed by a professional to meet all of those requirements. And they're going to take into account all those things that Eric was talking about earlier, like how close can we be to a well? If you're thinking about putting in a pool, things like that come into consideration when you're going to install your septic. And if your septic is not installed at this point, all we want is the permit. We would like you to wait to install your septic system until we are done with at least the exterior masonry on your home, just so we can make sure that we're not, running heavy equipment on top of it. If your septic's already there, though, that's fine, as long as it's large enough for the home. And again, a sanitarian is going to have to tell us that it's okay for that, and we'll work around it. Bless you, I think.
Yes, you're right. But I have the magic mute button. Because we're such experienced live talent. Anyway, yeah, like Dawn said, this is a septic system is truly these days, and most of them are going to need to be aerobic. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be conventional. It's not true. They're not outlawed. They're not banned. They're not. It is just there are more stringent regulations on what the soil type has to be based on the TCEQ's guidelines of when you can install a conventional versus when you need to use an aerobic system. And the aerobic system being truly an on-site sewage facility. It's like a miniature sewage treatment plant. So there's this box here is a big. It doesn't do its size. It's about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. Okay, it's big concrete box that has partitions in it. There's chambers inside here. So there's like a waste tank, a solids tank, a treatment tank, and then a purified water pump tank that it has a float valve in it that tells sprinklers when to turn on. So it truly is it's got an aerator on it. It's got a water pump on it. It's got a compressor on it. So it's got some things on it that it's going all the time. It uses very, very little power. It's very low maintenance. But it is its own self-contained little sewage plant. So that's really what it is. So that's why they want it permitted, because they want to know where those things are.
Absolutely.
And then for those customers who do want to have gas of some sort to either cook with, heat their home with, heat their water with, you basically got two options here in Texas. You got natural gas, or you got propane or LP. Areas that have natural gas, obviously there'll be a company that oversees that owns those lines, that runs those meters and installs those meters. And then LP, there's you can really get the tanks from anybody. And most of them have programs where you can either buy the tank from them or lease it from them. And then you have typically a filling schedule set up with them. Something to think about, you can do it above ground or below ground, which is kind of cool. And it has like just a little gauge on the top that tells you, just like you're on your car, empty, full, all that. There's some advantage to buying your fuel like this time of year, because not a lot of people are using a lot of gas to heat their things right this second, because, well, it's like 100 degrees outside and 90% humidity in Texas. So when you don't want to buy propane, well, when you need it, which is in like February, January, those times, February 15th, maybe, when there's snow on the ground or whatever.
For some unknown reason.
Right. And then the truck can't get in to give you propane because he can't get up the hill because it's ice. So it doesn't matter.
That was not in the previews for 2022. So hopefully we're not doing that again.
Not in the trailer. But anyway, something to think about as well when you're, see there's a little generator sitting here, a little generator, again, the size of the car.
It's just the size of the crane right there.
Right. If you do intend to do something like that, think about that as far as talk to your gas company about the size of the tank. I would never do anything probably less than a 250 gallon. And if you're considering doing a generator or something like that, you may consider going to a larger 500 or even 1,000 gallon fuel tank if you're going to be running that generator on propane. They also make diesel generators. So anyway, all stuff to think about. When you're talking about, or you can just go all electric, which is how we build most of our homes, and go from there. You use the Weber grill or charcoal. Do it real Texas style. Get you a pit, get some post oak and mesquite, put it in the pit, smoke it for 10 hours. That's how you cook outside. Period.
All right.
I will allow charcoal. Flavor matters. All right. So how do we determine where all the stuff goes, Dawn? What happens? How do we just walk out and put it wherever?
Yeah, we just flip a coin and throw a dart wherever it lands. Now, you're going to have a very formal site evaluation. We also refer to this as our stakeout meeting. And this will be the first time that you'll meet with a Tilson employee actually on your land. So it's a very exciting time. Very cool process. Yeah. And so they're going to come out and talk to you about a few things. And the first is kind of deciding the best placement for your home. So if they're going to be looking at your survey. So measuring out what all the required clearances, easements, setbacks, all of that kind of information that you need, and kind of talking to you about, you probably have an idea of where you want your house to be. So they'll talk about that. And maybe if we move it over 10 feet, you'll have a better situation as far as out of level goes. So we'll figure that out together. And then they're also going to talk about any additional needs. So that out of level that I was talking about, so they're actually going to take measurements while they're there to see how far out of level, how much drop you have in your property, determine any additional site clearing that you need to be. So if there's like a couple trees on your property that you're not sure if you want to, you'd like to keep, if you can, you guys will talk about all of that. You'll talk about access needs. So we're going to need you to set up a construction drive, all weather access to your property. So we'll pick out the best spot for that when we're talking to you and determine how wide it needs to be, how long, talk about kind of the material that needs to go into there. They're also going to look at your electric and your water to figure out how far out the hookups are going to be and if there's going to be any additional footage over what we already include in there. And they're going to write you a very nice to-do list. So you're going to leave this meeting with a list of to-dos. And so there's a sample right there. So things like, we're going to need a 911 address before we can start building in case, heaven forbid, anything happens. Emergency services knows how to get to us. So we're going to need you to apply for that. They're going to talk about, if you already set up utilities, okay, well, then you need to do this, this, and this. And just all those things that you talked about that are going to be your responsibility are going to be on this checklist. And then that gets sent back to your consultant and your new home specialist so that we can kind of put your list together. New home coordinator, sorry.
On it together. Yeah. And
we're going to work on this list together.
And guys, it'll kind of seem like why am I having to do so much? What am I paying you to do? Why isn't my builder doing this? Great questions. And some of these things we absolutely can and will and would love to do. We have professional property services that we do offer in many of the counties in which we build, where we will handle these things for you, or whoever your builder is will. the kicker is there's some things we absolutely can't handle for you because you are the landowner.
Right.
For instance, in these places like Dawn mentioned, the 911 address, I can't go apply for a 911 address on Dawn's property. Okay,
Right.
she has to go do that. I can't do that to her because she's the owner. I can't, if the power company we're talking about earlier, if they need a 20-foot wide easement going down your property to either bury electrical cable or to run overhead electric poles, I, as Eric the builder, I can't deed them that 20-foot easement on your property. That's illegal. I can't do that. I can't give someone permission to go on your property. You have to give them permission, and you have to dedicate that easement. So those are the things that we need your help with. Say on sewers, applying for those kind of things. The septic systems, they want the landowner's signature on the application. There are a few counties, Washington County is one of them still, where Brenham is, that they require the landowner to have a sit-down interview, an appointment with the septic person there.
Oh,
wow.
Their
reasons, they're weird, but that's the deal. That's the great part about Texas. Every county can kind of do what they want to do. We are deregulated. We're not a big government kind of place. So the downside of that is it does introduce a little bit of unpredictability from place to place. So it's like, how come you don't know how it goes? Like, well, there's 220 counties across the state and they all do their own thing. So,
and sometimes every city within that county has their own little.
For sure. Yeah. You can get into the city stuff. So anyway, there will be things you have to do in the build on your land environment because it is in fact your land. So part of the fun, part of the appeal, everything about it, part of the process. Building your lot buyers are way more educated buyers. They know a lot about what's going on because they watch really helpful videos like this one that give them all of that information. Anyway, so just know that we're here to help. Site access. How are we going to get on this thing? And this is one that has been very difficult this year. Because a lot of rain, a lot of freezing, a lot of problems. Getting stuff around, but all weather access means exactly what it says. It's all weather access. So and we're talking about access, not from a car or pickup truck. We're talking about dump truck, concrete truck, lumber trucks for delivery, big, large vehicles, heavy equipment.
Yeah. Your soil testing equipment.
Yeah. Just to drill that, we'll need decent access to get on your property. It's a heavy truck. And because ideally, whatever we get on your property, we'd really like to be able to get it off of your property also.
Yeah, that's really the opposite. Like, we can get anything on your property. It's just whether we can get back out again.
Getting it off that sometimes is the struggle. So anyway, you'll need to, in some cases, you'll need to install a culvert, which is nothing more than a pipe in the ground, usually 12 inches to 24 inches in diameter, that allows water to pass through the ditch underneath your driveway. And ordinarily in Texas, the counties are responsible for flood control. So they will tell you typically what size culvert you have to have based on their calculations, which I'm sure super scientific. How many cubic feet of water need to move, CFM, cubic feet per minute of water have to move through here. There actually are calculations go into this engineering, but they don't vary that much. So anyway, that's what has to happen. If you got questions about that, we can help with this. We can help get bids. We can certainly help point you in the right direction. We can certainly point you in the direction of what not to do. We can't just have two ruts in the grass going up there. That's not going to get it. We do have to have good, reliable all-weather access.
Well, and the other thing about the all-weather access is you do not want it. This is not your permanent driveway. So you do not want it made of your nice, pretty material, particularly if you're thinking about concrete at the end. That's not the driveway we want right now because we don't want our trucks to mess that up. So this is simply just to get your access in. It's going to, if it happens to be in the same location as you're putting your permanent driveway, it serves as a great foundation for pouring concrete later, because we're going to do a really good job of compressing that for you. But do not make this your permanent pretty. Don't put the pretty rock down. Like this is not a pretty thing. Awesome.
All right. So do we want to pause here for questions? I know we have a few stacking up. We can pause here and then.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
Move on to site clearing next.
Let's see. Let me go back to where we were. So Emily was sharing with us. Very exciting day. She's watching them unload the sheetrock for her Victoria right now.
That's awesome, Emily. Thanks for sharing. Another job I do not want is carrying sheetrock in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
It's heavy.
It is heavy. Usman is asking, do we pre-wire Cat 6 and coaxial cables? Can I have Tilson pre-wire for speakers?
All right, that's a great question. We actually pre-wire with Cat 5e is what we spec out, and coaxial. We do that. 75 ohm coaxial, I think, is what it is. I could be wrong on the 75 ohm. I'm pretty sure it's what it is. But Cat 5e is what we do. I have seen people inquire about Cat 6. So that might be something that the electrician in that area is able to do. And at this time, we do not do any other type of low voltage wiring. We don't have anything for speaker pre-wire, alarm pre-wire, anything like that. You can have that done while the home's under construction by a vendor of your choice. You find somebody, give you bids on doing that. You do need to still coordinate that with your building superintendent. Typically, a good time that can be done is maybe right after the mechanical, the electrical, and the plumbing go in, the MEP stage. We're typically waiting a couple days on inspections then anyway, and that's a great time to get those guys in there to do kind of a speaker pre-wire or anything you want to do like that. I've seen people wire for cameras, all that kind of good stuff, although I've seen a lot more people now doing everything wireless. So your choice, depending on what kind of, obviously, Wi-Fi you have in your internet service provider. So great question.
All right. Jesse was telling us hello. So hi, Jesse. Chris is letting us know, just met our builder today, Josh Stone and Justin. Now just waiting.
Zach Stone, I think. And yeah, Ordino out there riding with him. That's fun.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just waiting on foundation building or Furio C in Caldwell County.
Sweet. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for trusting us too.
Christopher started our foundation last week, building the San Felipe near Cameron.
Awesome. Milam County.
Thank you, Christopher. Joe is asking, is there any advantage to 6-inch walls rather than a 4-inch stud? I've always had horrible transfer of heat from my brick west-facing wall.
All right, Mr. Joe Barry, great question. So in really, really cold climates, yes, there's an advantage. Really hot climates, not as much. So we can get a R15 rating in a 4-inch cavity, a 3.5-inch cavity, actually what it is. As a 5.5-inch cavity, we can get an R21 bat of insulation, or spray foam if you're doing that, either way, which is actually a lower R value. Different seminar, different topic.
Still
really,
strange.
the structurally, there's not that much advantage. I mean, obviously 6 inches bigger than 4-inch, so there is that. Typically where you do see, though, people are doing 2x6 walls, they'll move out to 24 inches on center. It does allow you to do that. One thing that we do that actually does help a little bit with that is the OSB sheathing. There actually is a little bit of an R value there, very little, but a little bit, so that'll combat it. The Tyvek helps a little bit with that, and mainly just the insulation and really the tightness of the home. You shouldn't have, we don't have big problems with west-facing walls anymore. It is hot on the outside, of course. If it's a dark brick color and it faces west, it's going to feel hot to the touch out there. Right. But inside, you're not going to have that kind of heat transfer that used to occur. I wouldn't put a whole wall of windows on your west-facing wall or southwest-facing wall. That it's going to be a struggle. Good news is all that data is input into the manual J when they do the calculation for your HVAC system. So we tell them what direction the house is facing, the latitude and longitude of the house, what R value that we're using, thickness of the walls, square footage of glazing or glass, ceiling heights. All of that information goes into manual J calculation software, and it'll spit out what it's supposed to be. So you can you can pack a little more insulation in there, but it's not going to make a substantive difference on temperature rating in this part of the world. Wyoming, Colorado, probably a little bit different story, but not here.
Okay. All right. Patrick is saying howdy from San Antonio, hoping to build in Bandera next year. Bridal Gate Ranch. Awesome.
Mr. Cowan,
thanks for tuning in. Enrique and Lisa here from Katy, planning on building in Texas Grand Ranch. Wondering if you were able to build a 3,800 square foot 1-story with a modern contemporary elevation.
We can definitely do a 3,800 square foot 1-story. We've done that before, but I don't know how one might define modern contemporary. When I think modern contemporary, I start thinking like concrete and glass and steel, kind of Frank Lloyd Wright
flat
stuff.
roof.
Yeah, that stuff we don't do. And you can pretty well look through our website, and that's the what you see on our website, including customer images that are on there or on the Facebook page. That's what we build. That's what we're comfortable building. That's what our trades are comfortable building. So if you see something on there that appeals to you, will knock it out of the park. If you don't see it on there, there's probably a reason. And it's probably not something that's in our wheelhouse. So, but yeah, great question.
All righty. Usman is asking, what type of septic system do you recommend is low maintenance, low pressure dose, aerobic drip irrigation, or aerobic spray?
Well, they're all going to be pretty well the same maintenance wise, Usman. It's going to really come down to what does the registered sanitarian recommend? What do they, what are they typically putting in that area? That really is going to drive it. I mean, the least expensive of those is going to be the aerobic spray system, what's called a surface application. So sprinkler heads pop up, they apply the treated wastewater to the surface, and then they go back down. Simple as that. And then if you hit them with your mower, you can replace the head pretty easily. It's not a big deal. I've heard it's not a big deal.
You would never do that.
No, not twice on the same. Okay, yes, I've done it many times. So anyway, that's the easiest. And low pressure dose and aerobic drip, those are typically only used if you're really close to a body of water. And the septic designer is not comfortable with the spray application of surface water running into that body. The TCEQ has some thoughts about that. They don't like wastewater runoff into lakes, ponds, lakes, streams, rivers, those kind of things. So
that makes sense. Yeah. He's also asking about the minimum width requirement for a construction driveway.
That is a very good question, Usman. I would never do anything less than 12 feet ever. And that's the part on the ground. Up, having trees only 12 feet apart, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a struggle being able to turn trucks in and around like that. So tight turns are the enemy. And trees close to the road, or trees, it looks kind of really neat to have a road go right between two trees, maybe 12 feet apart. That's going to be tough when you start talking about heavy equipment, dump trucks, concrete trucks with mirrors. With sometimes wide loads, if they have lumber, things like that on there, trying to get lumber. We obviously use lumber that's wider than 12 feet. That lumber is typically delivered on like one of those little spider lifts. So the forklift that's kind of piggyback onto the back of the truck, either 18-wheeler or tandem axle truck. That guy has to get down. He'll grab the 16-foot or 20-foot material off of the truck. And then as he's driving up that driveway, he needs that width to be able to get through there. So 12 feet of actual surface, and then probably more like 20 or more feet apart. Even 20 feet would be tight. Seems like a long ways until you're driving a truck through there, and 20 feet gets real quick. Or trailer. You think about if you're ever pulling a trailer like an RV or just a 16-foot lowboy trailer trying to turn through there, that could be a struggle. Boats, RVs, toys, these things.
Yeah, I'm remembering a TV shoot where we got an RV stuck, and that's
Yeah.
Too tight. Yeah. All right. James is asking, how is that culvert pipe strong enough to hold up dump trucks? It looks like it just has rocks poured over it.
Mind-boggling, isn't it, James? Yeah, believe it or not, whenever you so James is asking specifically about this. This is just a little plastic pipe. How could that possibly hold up a truck? Well, it turns out circles are actually quite strong. Geometrically speaking, I'll spare you from all the physics and calculations, but suffice it to say, this polyethylene pipe is rated at over 80,000 pounds if properly installed. So what's underneath, for instance, can't be flat, right? So this is dug out. That's why it needs to be installed by a professional, somebody who knows how to use a piece of equipment. You can't just take a dozer, do a flat surface, put a pipe on there and call it good, because the round pipe on flat surface, it's going to crush it. So it has to kind of match the curvature of the bottom of that pipe. And then, you put stabilized sand or some type of a clay base on top of that, and then put your construction drive, your road base on top of that. And the weight is distributed such that it will not crack. That pipe will hold up an 80,000-pound dump truck, no problem.
Wow.
Now, if the dump truck gets over here onto the edge of the pipe, you're going to have a problem. So going back to Usman's question of how wide it needs to be, again, for an approach or a drive like this, I would never do anything less than 20 feet. I've seen some that are 16. That's tight. When you're bringing in a big vehicle, 16 gets eaten up pretty quick. You start talking about turning radius. And you think turning radius of like your average SUV is 30 feet if you just turn a circle. So, we're bringing in a lot bigger than SUVs. But yeah, this pipe or the concrete, the reinforced concrete pipe, it will hold up 80,000 pounds plus easily. So great question.
Yeah, great question. All right. So Will is asking, are electric boxes outside the house? Will Tilson put this in the house so I can easily access it when it is raining and when I need to convert to backup power?
So I'm assuming you're talking about, Will, your current home. It's outside. And the answer is, yeah, there are locations inside your home where we can locate it. There are locations inside your home where we cannot locate it. It has to be in its own dedicated combustible airspace, for one. So, for instance, a utility room, it's really difficult to locate them in utility rooms because they can't be within so many feet of water, and you have a washing machine in there.
Okay.
So the old days, you used to see in the utility room all the time. That's kind of gone away. You can't really just throw them anywhere you want to. There are some places we can still put them. There's parameters that we have to meet. A garage is a great spot. We can put them inside garages. But yeah, we can locate it inside. We do some outside, some inside. You're not going to be accessing it that frequently. Particularly when it's raining, you shouldn't be losing a lot of breakers. But it is always at night, right? It's raining, it's at night, and it's dark, and yeah, that's when you have to get to it. But again, we don't typically have a whole lot of issues with it locating them outside. And they will look at it probably easily over a third of our homes. They're located outside. So, but inside or outside, whichever one. And actually, converting to backup power, it's easier to have it outside. And the generator installers will tell you that because they're going to do a knockout to bring their transfer switch in, and the generator obviously is going to be outside. Do not ever bring a generator inside your home, ever. So it'll be outside. So actually, it's easier to do generator stuff if it's outside. But anyway.
Okay, good to know. Danielle says that she's currently considering Tilson for her home. So thank you so much for thinking about us. I'm headed to Brian and then Katie to check out the model homes this week. She says she appreciates all the videos we put out. They're super informative and helpful. Thank you, Danielle.
Pretty little trip up Highway 6. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and that Canyon model, you need to see it in person. The pictures just can't do it justice. You need to see it. And Tanya's asking if she can have the pest control system installed prior to drywall being installed.
We haven't done a lot of those, or none that I know of, Tanya. It's something that we could definitely talk to our cost management team about and our construction team about. I don't know a lot about that system. I know what it does. I know it has PEX piping running through the house, and you hook up a thing outside, and it's supposedly sprays poison in the walls and kills the stuff. But yeah,
you have to be really careful when you're like drilling at your house because we put a hole in one of ours.
That's happened apparently. It seems like it. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway. But yeah, request it from your sales consultant. See if we can get with our construction team and see, and we'll be glad to entertain it if it's something that we can make happen. We certainly will. Yeah. So you want to get to pause back over to the presentation so that we're going to get time on time. It's a longer one.
Let's get
all right. So next we're going to be clearing. So the site has to be cleared. Obviously, we need to do this before we can get the stakeout done. In a lot of cases. At least has to be underbrush for us to do the stakeout. Ideally, it is cleared. So we do, you want to preserve as many trees as possible, of course, but you don't want anything right there beside the foundation. So the places look really nice and cleaned up when they've been underbrushed. Then we do some groundwork, right? Then we do any kind of, if we're doing a dirt pad, this will be the time that's typically done. After the geotechnical investigation comes back, sometimes we do a slab on grade. So, this is going to really be driven by where you're building in the state. Rather than kind of what the engineer recommends. So we want to be sure that we establish positive drainage all the way around the home. And then, of course, you're going to want to maintain that after you move in. So be careful about kind of planning wise where you're going to be putting other buildings or, like Dawn said earlier, pools, things like that.
Yep.
Then foundation. We do a lot.
Yes.
To design your foundation. There's a lot of science that goes into this. So we do, of course, the geotechnical investigation. Based on the results of that, our engineers out of Austin, Texas, they do design every single one of our foundations site specific. So there are some builders that will just have an engineer design them a foundation system. And that's okay. I mean, it'll work in most cases, but every single one of our homes that we build on the customer's land is designed specifically for the soil on which it sits. So we take the soil test from inside the footprint of the home, and then the engineer designs it for that. You got to be sure it's going to carry the load. They have tons of experience, and this is something obviously we take very, very seriously as we do all of your home. But this is not an area that you want to skimp on ever. So you want to do a countertop upgrade or something like that later, or flooring upgrade later, fine. This is not a place you want to save money. So it's going to be done right. We're going to stand behind it, and you're going to be comfortable there, secure in your new home. So why does it matter so much, Dawn? How different could it really be from place to place?
Well, there are over 1,300 different types of soil in Texas, and they can actually vary even within your property, which is why it's so important to us that we take those soil samples from within the actual footprint of your home to make sure we're looking at the right soil. And it's because, a quarter of the damage to all homes in the U.S., it's because of expanding soil. So we want to know exactly what type of soil you have and how it's going to react to water, how it's going to react to getting warmer, how all of these things are going to happen, so that we can save your home and save you some of the damages that could happen for not having the right foundation for the area.
And the headache, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of things play into that. But drainage is a big one. So we want to be sure we establish positive drainage, which means part of that is kind of the house slab obviously going to sit higher than the natural ground so that we can make water flow away from it. Water standing beside or near your foundation is a problem, particularly on one side or the other. That's a real problem. So want to be sure that we mitigate that and that you maintain that. You would be blown away by how many gallons per day a large oak tree or pecan tree drinks, like soaks out of the. So again, if you have a big giant tree that's real close, kind of over here, in a drought, you might find that this side of your foundation doesn't perform quite right when this side is doing fine because there's a big oak tree here taking what little moisture there is out. So these are all things that our engineer considers, and then we make recommendations at that site evaluation on how to mitigate that. And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that the engineer does. It's more than actually just even just the geotechnical investigation itself. They look at historical satellite images. They look at fault lines. They look at aerial photos to see if these were old fence lines where cows were walking up and down and packing that ground. I mean, we have found in 90 years, we have found all kinds of weird things on land.
Was that perfectly flat property right now? Was that a pond before?
Right. Yeah. Was that someone's dumping ground? We've found swimming pools underneath where people thought they were going to build their home when we're doing these geotechnical stuff. Anyway, not trying to freak you out. You just do need to know that we're going to do some due diligence on this with the engineer's help to make sure that the home we're building is going to perform. So that's what you need to know.
That's why we do all this upfront work to make sure that it's right.
Yeah, we're testing liquid limits, plastic limits, potential vertical rise. So soil does all kinds of weird, funky things when it's subjected to excess moisture or excess drought. So we just want to test for all those and be sure that we are covering all of our bases. So how do we know? Well, we're going to have an engineer there on site. So before we ever place the concrete, an engineer comes out, inspects the beam width, the beam depth, the cable spacing, dimensions, all that stuff is checked by the engineer before we are signed off to place the slab. So we're checking it, the engineer's checking it, we have third-party inspector checking it, even in unincorporated areas. I saw a comment the other day on our Facebook that someone was very grateful because the county in which they were building doesn't do any kind of inspections.
Right.
There's other builders that have built in that same place that they don't inspect anything. And we did stop construction to do inspections at every stage, even though it wasn't required in that area. So we do that all over the state of Texas. And then when we tension the cables themselves, we actually have there's an engineer, a representative from the engineer on site to ensure that cable tensioning is done properly. So all happens. Then what will happen? So now that all that's designed, Dawn, now we can actually build this house.
Yes.
So we're 50 minutes into our construction seminar. And now we're going to build a house. Truly, guys, I know that sounds weird. This is the process. There's a lot, because it's your land, it's undeveloped. A lot of the construction process depends on this pre-construction stuff, this development stuff, which is why build on your lot takes longer, because it's really land development and home construction. It's not just home construction.
Yep, because those subdivisions that you've seen that seem to be going up so quickly, they've spent 2 years doing all of this for every lot, whereas we're starting from scratch with you and going through it. So the first thing we're going to do, very exciting, we're going to set forms. So this is actually setting up how we're going to pour your foundation, and they're going to bring out the boards and set them up, and this is what the concrete's going to be poured into, and they're probably going to look nasty. They might not be the right size because we will use form boards from job to job. It's okay. It's not going to affect your end foundation, but it's just part of the process. So this is what the concrete's going to
This is
actually go
deliberately
into.
in here because this is my home that I built. So
Oh,
this is Eric's house. This is Eric's form boards. These are old ratty form boards that were used on other houses. Yeah, that's right. They run wild. So in other words, they'll run longer. This is the actual edge of the porch here. It's okay to use a board that's longer because the concrete's going to stop here.
right.
So again, that way when it's done, they can wreck these forms, take them to another job and use them. Now, obviously there'll be times where they just wear out. But this is my own personal home that was built, and it's still there. I mean, it didn't fall apart, even though we had old gray form boards that had concrete on them already. Not a big deal.
Perfect. So then we're going to get your slab ready. So what has happened that you've seen here is we've run some plumbing grounds. We've dug in your beams and piers here. For the concrete to go down in. It's going to be, there's going to be like these nice little squares in the middle of it is what it's going to look like. And we're going to cover those with a black vapor barrier to keep the moisture from coming up into your concrete. And then we're going to run that blue grit. Could be blue, could be orange. I've seen all kinds of different colors. Sometimes in October, they're pink. But just, this nice grid. And those are those cables, those post tension cables that we were talking about, that at the end, we're going to come and put some tension on. And so this is what you're going to see. And where you have a shower, you're going to see a black box, another black box there that's just protecting the drain, and all of that kind of stuff. So
very, very,
very
cool.
exciting. And then it's pour day.
Yeah, it's fun day.
Fun day.
You'll get notified when we're going to do that. And then actually place the concrete. There's a lot of stuff. We got great videos on that. And we finished the slab, and they did it finish in different ways. So your garage service is finished one way, the house service is finished a way, the porches are finished a little bit different,
right.
Typically a broom finish of some sort. So it's a very, very busy day, a lot happening. But we get it all done. So a lot of fun.
Yep.
And then sometimes
all your stuff's going to start arriving, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully. And sometimes right now, guys, it's going to be arriving in phases. Because that's how we're able to get it. So not everything is able to get immediate. So some things we're getting right now, your home's going to look a little unfinished. We may get 3/4 of the house painted, and our paint provider literally runs out of paint. That happens. It's happening right now. It doesn't always happen, but it's happening. This is August of 2021. It's happening. So bear with us. We're going to keep your project going as much as we can, but we do stick-built framing, what you're seeing here. So no trusses, no pre-assembled walls, no anything like that. It's all stick-built, on-site, custom cut to fit. We use a Tyvek drain wrap all the way around the exterior of the home, in addition to the OSB, or oriented strand board, that we're putting up. See the wall sheathing, which is only required in windstorm. We do it everywhere because we like the structural stability of it. We like the finish that it allows us to put on a hardy plank surface, like your board and batt that you see, or hardy plank siding. Love it, love it, love it. And then we put obviously your decking on, roof liners. Then we move inside. Once the house is dried in, we move inside, and your electrical contractors, your plumbing contractors, and your HVAC, they come in and do their thing. So this is your plumbing rough you're seeing. You see your PEX piping. You got your drain lines. You got vents. Your tubs and shower pans are typically set at that time. If we use a custom shower pan, so we'll be doing it later. We do all tile shower pans, so those are custom built on site. HVAC is roughed in, and that also includes your exhaust fans, right? So any type of like the vents in your utility room and bathrooms, the dryer vent, all those are done by the HVAC technician. The air handlers put in, all the duct workers run. What's not done yet is the outside. The condensing unit will not be delivered at this time. We don't want it to get damaged or grow legs and walk away. So it'll come later on at the HVAC trim stage. And electrical rough in. So we run all the electrical, all your outlets and switches and lights and all that. We rough in for all of those. And then we insulate depending on where you are. Dawn, how does it differ?
So it's going to depend upon which climate zone you're in. So in climate zone 2, you're going to get fiberglass insulation. So in your walls, you're going to have batt insulation, and also in any sloped ceiling. you're going to have, R15 insulation. And then in your attic space, you're going to have blown in insulation after we put the sheetrock up. And that's going to be to an R38. Yep. And then in climate zone 3, our standard option is spray foam. You can opt to have this in climate zone 2, but it just is included already in climate zone 3. So we use open cell spray foam, and that's just sprayed into all of the walls and on the bottom of your roof deck. And what's going to happen is it's going to expand out and fill every single crack and crevice that's in your home, seal it up nice and tight, like a Yeti cooler. So that your home will just be more energy efficient because we're allowed less air changes per hour in those northern counties. So that's why we've gone with spray foam.
Awesome. Then we cover it up.
First we wait and we got inspections.
Got some inspections happening. So inspections happen at about these stages here. Mm-hmm. We got some inspections going on. They inspect the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing, the insulation, the energy is inspected. All that stuff is done. Then once all of those pass, then we come in and hang rock. So your sheetrock is hanged, taped, floated, textured. Then your paint comes in, and then all the pretty stuff that you picked out finally starts happening. So your cabinets, your countertops, your light fixtures, your appliances, the plumbing fixtures, the towel bars, the robe hooks, the towel rings, the crown molding, all of the fun things that make the home yours, that you personalized. Mm-hmm. Those happen now. What is this slide all about, Dawn? I don't see anything happening. No one's been here for weeks. What is going on? Did you forget about me? I don't feel important.
Throughout construction, there's going to be some normal times where you just feel like nothing's going on and we're watching grass grow. There's a few reasons that this could happen. The first is scheduling. So your builder is trying to be very aware of, with contractors when we can get them there. So they're always going to schedule in a few days in between contractors. So that way, in case your drywall people are running longer, he doesn't have the next team coming in unable to do it because the drywall isn't finished. Mm-hmm. So that's happening, and that's natural and normal. We talked about, Eric and I went back a couple slides and said, actually, before we do this, we have to wait for inspections. So that could be happening as well. So if nothing's happening, like it's planned that way. Like we're aware, we haven't forgotten about you. I mean, never feel bad about calling your builder and asking, but just know that some of these are planned out like that. The other thing, to be fully transparent, like Eric was talking about, sometimes things might look half done because we do have, your contractor is going to do what he does. Our builder comes in and inspects it, and then they come back again. So at this time, when we used to make sure that everything had to be finished, everything had to be installed before our builder would come out and check, with supply chain issues, we might go ahead and look at it and move on to the next thing, knowing that original contractor, your painter's coming back anyway for touch-ups. So we'll just have him finish painting when he's back then. So just some things to be aware of in the process and the times that we're in.
Thanks for pointing that. Those are great points. Thank you for doing that. Then the exterior, we're going to finish this up. So beautiful exterior finishes. Everything is touched up. They are an order. There's an order to things. So we paint. You'll notice this is a great picture because we want to show people that we are obviously have painted the hardy trim, for instance, before we put the roof on, whether the shingles or metal. Doesn't matter. You see the overspray, you can kind of see it here. We don't want that overspray on your shingles or on your metal roof. So there is kind of a method to the madness, and right now it is supreme madness out there. Again, waiting for materials and getting contractors, and I'm grateful that there's a lot of business in Texas. There's a lot of people moving to Texas. It has created a strain on the labor pool. Okay, so it's not news to anyone anymore that there's a labor shortage. Particularly in Texas. So that's some of the things are staggered and happening in maybe a different order than you might be even that we're ordinarily accustomed to seeing them. So, but it is still going to happen. You're going to get a beautiful home built. So.
Absolutely.
Then more inspections.
So
the house is inspected again for final. There are also a final appraisals typically done at this point. If you're doing a loan, they're going to make sure everything functions, commodes flush and septic tank goes in, and when the septic's in, they want to come out and look at the septic before you cover it up to basically say, hey, did you install what we permitted, what we authorized, what you said you were going to install? All that stuff takes place kind of at this time. And then you get to do a walkthrough of your home, a homeowner orientation. We show you how to use all the cool stuff, your thermostats, and how to do the air filters and all that kind of good stuff. You get to move in. We close. After you close, you move in, occupy the home. Obviously, we have a warranty department that is our own Tilson warranty department. So a Tilson employee answers the phone, and a Tilson employee shows up in a Tilson vehicle to fix your Tilson home. It's not some third-party contractor, unless that's what we need. I mean, we're not going to come fix your HVAC. We're going to send the pros.
Right.
But just know that we are taking care of our customers. That's what's important there. And of course, we love when you tell your friends what a great experience it was, and refer your friends to us and your family to us. So,
and share all your pictures with us on Facebook. We love it.
Yes, share your pictures. We love that. Construction is right now running about 8 months on average. The actual construction part. That's not including the pre-construction, the site development part. Right now, construction is about 8 months. Obviously, you can visit the home anytime you want to. It's your land, so we don't lock you out. And we love the feedback. We love seeing our customers' pictures out there and stuff happening. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there are questions.
I'm sure there are.
Questions. So thanks for letting us blow through that, because we did want to keep it to an hour in case folks have things to do. I don't know what else you could possibly be doing besides watching us, but in the unlikely event that you have something else to do, now's when it just gets good, because now the questions start coming in. So
yes,
I'm going to leave now and be my guest, but you're going to regret
all questions. All right. So Tanya's asking, can we have the windows pre-wired for our electric blinds?
I have never heard of this. You got me stumped. I've never heard of electric blinds. I've heard of shutters, like for windstorm, that kind of stuff, hurricane shutters. Never heard of electric blinds. So don't know that we're able to accommodate that. We'd have to just reach out to our electrician in the area and see if they've ever done anything like that. I don't know what the needs are. I don't know if it's low voltage, if it's 110. I don't know what it needs. So sorry,
sounds
Tanya.
Cool, though.
I don't know if you tell one of the nefarious lady devices to do something that I don't want to mention their name right now and have them do something.
Yeah, she'll start talking to us.
Exactly. We don't want that.
So Glenn is asking if we offer 9 to 10 foot ceiling heights. And
Dawn,
yes, we do.
9 to 10 foot ceilings. Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We do. In fact, some of our plans, that's how they come. They don't come anything less than 9 feet. Most of them don't.
Yeah, most of our plans now, there's a few older ones that might have 8 foot in some rooms, but the majority of them, it's 9 to 10. Let's see. October is asking, I know there are challenges with plate levels and such, but is it possible to add a small step down from the foyer into the main living space?
The old conversation pit. It was a word for it in the home building
very
world.
popular.
I mean, it's possible. Yes. The question is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But yeah, you've already mentioned the challenges, plate levels and such. So yeah, there's some things that we have to think about. Not to mention the topography of the land itself. We got to consider that. But yeah, it's not impossible. It's very rare that will be done. The engineer has to design it as well, of course. So we haven't done a whole lot of that. So it's possible.
So would you have to raise the whole foundation to dip
down?
Not
necessarily. No, not necessarily. But yeah, you're going to have to, it's definitely going to want to be on ideally the foyer would be on the uphill, the high point of the property, so that you can kind of step down the foundation. That would be optimal. But I don't know that's going to always be the case necessarily.
Okay. All right. Amy is asking, does she need to set the temporary power pole, or does Tilson set their own?
Great question, Amy. We actually provide the temporary pole to work on. Some of the co-ops that you'll see, they do actually offer that the pedestal they come and set actually has power on it. Has a 110 outlet on there, so we don't need a temporary pole at all. I've got a very weird picture of I can show you something like that. So this here has.
This is also Eric's.
This is there. Yep. There's a little 110 outlet here on the side. So in this case, this is what Mid-South sets. So that they ran that power there. They set the pedestal. You can see from the power pole there, they do all that, and then little 110 outlet there. So we don't need a T-pole at all. But otherwise, if your power company does need a temporary pole, we provide that. So great question, Amy. Thanks for asking.
Perfect. Let's see. Tara's saying hi from Kaufman, waiting on final plans next week for our Laporte.
Awesome.
We were just informed that a gas water heater can't be in the attic. Is there an option to put it outside? We don't have a garage in the plans.
All right. So where she's building, if everybody
Mhm.
knows, in climate zone 3, where there's spray foam, we can't
Right.
have a gas water heater in the attic. It's got to either be, we got to go to tankless or something different like that. So the only option to have one outside, Tara, would be a tankless. We could do a tankless gas water heater, and they are designed to be located outside if they need to be. That'd be the way to put it outside. Otherwise, it does need to come down into the living area someplace in its own combustible airspace. So in a closet. So we need to figure out a way to design it down there, get it in a garage if that's a thing, or go to a tankless and have it outside.
Okay. All right. Courtney's asking, does the color of the metal roof impact the amount of insulation or temperature of the house?
It does not, Courtney, because we're using a radiant barrier decking anyway in most of our climate zones, climate zone 2. And even when we don't, we're going to be spray foaming the backside of that. So that heat transfer is not going to be coming through and affecting the temperature of your house.
Okay. All right.
Question.
Yeah, good question. Jesse is asking, how much space do we need on either side of the build? I'm guessing she's asking about cleared space.
Yeah, I mean, optimally 20 feet. That would be great if we had that. We've done less than that. Obviously, we've built close to existing structures, maybe existing mobile home or existing frame home, something like that. Certainly can't do anything less than 5 feet. That's a struggle. That's going to take some communication among the trade lines and trade base to be sure that everybody's coordinated and orchestrating that. But 10 to 20 feet would be the minimum that we need.
Okay. Tara also has a question about her color selections. She said that she had a lot of questions about swapping items out, and there wasn't a lot of answers, and is now waiting on someone to get back to her for the cost. Is that normal? Yes, actually, it is. Because we do have professional interior designers that come out and do those color selections with you. They are not going to be as familiar. It depends on what you're switching out. Sounds to me like you're making some material changes. So they don't really have access to our pricing for those things because every home is so different. It's not like when you're building a home with, the big guys where it's this kitchen design and that's only the kitchen design. So we know exactly how much it's going to cost to upgrade countertops. Your kitchen was designed pretty much for you. So one of our people needs to actually sit down and figure out how much square footage of, how much linear foot of granite do you have and get you the price if you're upgrading that level, or if you're doing something like switching out the plain soffit to a real soffit on a porch. That's just not something that our interior designers are going to have pricing for, but they'll get you, your design consultant will pull that pricing together for you very quickly.
Yeah.
All righty. Joseph is coming in from Crosby, Texas. He's had his driveway installed with stabilized fill mixed in with the dirt. Does he need to pour rocks on top?
So yes, you need to have some type of rock base on top of that. And the reason is the stabilized fill mixed with the dirt, that will turn to mud given enough rain. And particularly, I know about that in Crosby, Texas, because it's pretty flat. Rainwater doesn't run off a whole lot. So yeah, you need to have rock, some type of road base on top. It could be 1 to 3 inch rock. It could be 3 to 5, although that could be a little rough to drive a regular vehicle on. Great for big trucks. But yeah, let's put rock on it.
Okay, great. And then Tanya is asking, after you've approved the plans and the soil tests have happened and the Tilson stakeout has been completed, how long is it taking for the foundation engineer to design the foundation specific to your plans?
It's taking right now about 6 weeks or so, Tanya. They're busy and short staffed, just like everybody else in Texas. But yeah, we've seen some come back in as little as 3 or 4 weeks, but we're telling folks you need to be ready to wait about 6 weeks for, or in some cases more, not very rare cases, but in some cases more, around 6 weeks to get the foundation design back from the engineer.
Okay, perfect. J-Bo is asking if a tree is going to be removed that is about 10 to 15 feet outside of the footprint of the home per stakeout. Do we need to remove the roots as for those that are inside the footprint?
No, you don't, J-Bo. I mean, you're going to be fighting them with your mower, from personal experience. But no, if they're outside the footprint of the home, you don't have to have the roots or even the stump removed necessarily. Although you'll probably want to do that just from a regular being able to mow maintenance kind of thing. So,
Okay,
good question.
Shannon is saying we're considering Tilson for our build in Wilson County and would like our home site on the top of a hill on our land. There is a gradual slope. Will this affect the foundation and price of the build?
I mean, it can, but it may not. I mean, obviously we have different tolerances for different counties. So we've taken kind of the 75-80% rule in Wilson County, and that's I don't know, but that's where you want your home to be. It's going to cost what it costs, regardless of who you build with. Shannon, it's a great question, but the gradual slope is to be expected in that area. So I mean, we're going to design to that slope. We're going to design for the drainage. We're going to but to say, without knowing exactly which house and exactly what the slope is and exactly how many cubic yards of concrete it's going to be, it's really hard to answer that question. But it's going to have an effect on the foundation. But anywhere you would put it would have an effect. So, great question.
Okay. All right. Christopher says, I have an old cistern where we are considering placing our home. How problematic would it be to place the home there, or would it be better to consider another location?
Well, Chris, I mean, if it's where, again, we're talking about your dream home, your forever home here. So if that's where you want it to be, there are ways that can be done. Typically, an engineer is going to want that cistern completely removed. If there's any kind of concrete, typically there's an old concrete cistern of some sort. They want that completely removed and then backfilled, typically with select fill. So they want all of that excavated out and then backfill it with some type of a compactable material, which is select fill. So not just sand and not topsoil, not rock. They want it select fill, which is a kind of a 60-40 sand clay mix. Not pure clay, because that's expensive. So it can be done, or you can consider another location. It's really up to you.
Okay. All right. J-Bo is saying through our local electric Medina Co-op, we can choose temporary power for construction and later set up a second visit to have them place a meter on the outside of our home. Mm-hmm. Or we can choose to have the meter put on the pole and no second visit needed. But Tilson would have to work with meter at pole rather than exterior wall of a home. Do we have a preference?
No, it doesn't matter, J-Bo. Anywhere the meter needs to be, it doesn't make any difference to us. We're going to build the electrical service on the wall of the home nearest where that power is going to be coming from. And whether the meter is on there or the meter is on the pole out where it is, it doesn't make any difference to us. The electrical service, our 200 amp or 320 amp, whatever size that we're needing to do for your home, is going to be located on the house. And then they'll just run the lines out to where the power actually is. So great question.
Great. Another question about power. Melissa is asking, at what point in the build would be best to have a Generac backup generator installed?
Well, you need to tell your building superintendent about that early on. And if you're still in the pre-construction process with your designer or sales consultant, they need to have it on there, because it's going to play into kind of where we locate the breaker box. And how we also will need to know, it's Generac, but we need to know, what type of, they're going to have a very specific transfer switch they want to use and all that kind of stuff. So earlier the better. But they can be installed after the fact too. So it's not, mission critical. It is a little easier on them if we know earlier on in the process. But obviously, Generac makes a bunch of money going and putting generators on homes that have been there for 20 years. So they clearly know what they're doing when it comes to installing generators. Now that they can get them again, I saw a truck yesterday with like 14 generators on it, like going south on I-45 in Houston. I'm like, they're back. We got them again.
Yay! All right. Tom is asking, planning to build in Grayson County, do we ever install whole house fans?
Typically don't, Tom. With the houses built as tight as they are, doesn't do you really any good anymore. That was a thing for a while. Mm-hmm. But now that as homes as tight as they are, you're fighting. It defeats the whole purpose of building a really, really tight home, which is what will really save you money here in Texas. So great question.
All right. Randy is asking, how often do I need to be on site during the build? I work around the country, so not available all the time.
Dawn, what do they need to do? Have we ever built a home for someone who's...
We have. We've actually built a home for someone from California who never actually saw their property in Texas Grand Ranch. So you don't have to be there. We'll most of the stuff we can do via DocuSign, including, getting your power hooked up and all of that kind of stuff. You'll have to contact them directly. So you don't have to be there. We welcome you to be there as often as you like, but there's no need for you to be there. We'd like you to be there in person for the final walkthrough, just so you can lay eyes on it and make sure everything is exactly as you liked it, approve it, get all of that. But other than that, you don't have to be there at all if you don't want to.
Yeah, we've built homes for people that live in the UK that are building a vacation home here. They don't come over. We've built a home for someone living in the Cayman Islands. So yeah, I mean that you don't have to be there, but it's totally up to you. It's your land. So
yep. Yeah, and just discuss it with your builder when you get started, like how often you want updates. They can send you pictures and things like that to make sure that you're comfortable. Tara is asking if we don't need permits for anything other than septic, is everything still inspected and by whom?
The answer is yes. Everything is still inspected, and I think they answered
yes.
Kelsey one. It's a third-party licensed inspector that we want it inspected because we know that we're humans. So we want proof that it was in fact done correctly, and anything that needs to be corrected, we want to correct it during that because we're warranting it. So we want it done right the first time, and not to send guys back out there. So. It's still inspected there are lots of third-party inspectors out there. We use 4 or 5 firms around the state, pretty good sized firms that we use to do that.
Mm-hmm. And it's important, like when we're talking about third-party inspections, that's a Tilson thing. So if you are considering another builder, ask them, are they going to have third-party inspections even when they're not required? Because the other thing that surprised me, sometimes even in counties, when you do have to have a permit, there's still no inspections.
That's right, at all.
So ask your builder. All right. And Usman is asking, when do we know who the third-party inspector is, and will that report be shared with them?
Yeah, your building superintendent will know obviously who it is because they're calling them and having them do it. They're scheduling it and all that. And then if you want the copy of the report, obviously we'll share the report with you. That's no problem. So just ask the building superintendent.
Tara is asking, can the trim color be different room to room? She wants black in common areas and white in bedrooms.
I think Kelsey answered her. So yeah, there would be an upcharge to do that, but yes, we can do that.
Okay, perfect. Diane is building a canyon in Grayson County. Looking forward to watching the foundation pour next week.
Awesome, Diane. Great.
Misty is asking, is building time still 12 to 14 months, and has lumber prices gone down?
Okay, so building times, yes, still 12 to 14 months. Dimensional lumber has stabilized. Sheet goods, no. So OSB, plywood, all of that, still record high. And even the lumber prices that have gone down are still 100% higher than they were in the spring of 2020. So just a year and a half ago, they're still higher than they were. So have they gone down? Yes. Have they gone down to what they were a year ago? Nope.
No.
Not even close. So
okay.
Yes, but the lead times is still out there with all the difficulty in supply chains, get materials, people still working different shifts because of COVID. All that the manufacturing facilities are still struggling with getting people to come into work instead of work from home. So all those are taking its toll on the supply chain, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right. Annie is asking, can I do spray foam for climate 2 zone? Yes, you can. Yes. You can offer spray foam. Wesley is asking, when is the best time to have power set up? I'm waiting to finalize the plans and foundation. Right away.
Do it. Yeah, do it as early as you can, Wes. Because some of them they have really long lead times. We've seen 8 weeks. We've seen 6 months in some cases to get power out. Those are rare, okay, but most of them, it's 4 to 6 weeks, pretty well across the state. So.
Yeah, and that's something you don't need your site evaluation for, because the power company is going to connect the power where the power company is going to connect the power. Yeah. They don't really give you a lot of input. So that's something you can go ahead with. Michelle is asking how much space is needed around water heaters located inside the living space. I've seen some near the washer and dryer and not far from the kitchen. Is that okay?
It is okay. So gas ones have to be in their own combustible airspace, which is a big fancy word for it. They got to be in a closet with their own air supply, that kind of stuff, and exhaust. So it has to be a big enough area to fit a closet that will fit a water heater in it. Water heater is usually 18 inches in diameter or so. So it's got to be about, a coat closet. You have to be able to fit that in the room. Electrical ones don't technically have to be in a closet, although they are somewhat unsightly. They do have to be on a platform that is required, but yeah, they can be near, washer dryer. They can be pretty well anywhere in living space. But there are, you can't have like a breaker box next to it or something like that. Like there are some stipulations on that, but as far as how much space is needed, it's really going to depend on the size of the little closet that the water heater has to go in. I mean, typically we don't do any less than a 2-foot door. So you're talking about at least a 2.5-foot wide closet, and they're usually 2 feet deep. So usually 30 inches by 24 inches is the minimum amount of space we'd want around a water heater. They'll fit it in there.
Perfect.
Really more.
Annie is asking, how much does a standard 2-car garage in Hayes County cost?
Well, Annie, there's no such thing as a standard 2-car garage because it depends on the plan. So
right.
I went and grabbed an Abilene real quick when I saw that. And so at today's prices, it's around, depending on the elevation, $39,000 to $45,000. And that's a 22 by 22 garage. So again, it's going to depend on the elevation and depend on the exact plan that you're looking at.
Okay, perfect. Wesley is asking, how much or how long is the power line provided by Tilson? Because where the power box is located, it's 180 feet from the southwest corner of where the house is going to be.
So we provide 50 feet. Now, you'll hear 50 or 60. It is 50 in the ground because we calculate part of that is going up the house and then the other part up the pole. So really think 50 feet of ground line. That's included in the base price of all of like anything you see on the website. That includes 50 feet of water line, 50 feet of electrical line. And then beyond that, we can calculate it. Your design center consultant can calculate the additional footage if you want us to do the trench and the wire and the conduit, all that stuff. Or sometimes we just do the trench and the conduit and the power company pulls the wire. It's going to depend on your power company. But we have pricing to do it all or to just do the trench and the conduit by the lineal foot. We do have that price.
Okay, perfect. Jen is saying she was told she needed to get her own temporary pole. Would that be different in Bexar County? That would there be a reason it wasn't included?
Nope, not that I'm aware of. So we do provide the temporary pole. So
yeah, send us a private message, Jen. Yeah, send us a private message so we can look into this for you. Joe is asking, there is a Tilson being built on the next street over from me. The sign went up about 7 months ago and forms went up this week. Cool. Interesting to see the process. Thanks. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. Let's see. Renee is giving a shout out to Wendy, building a Tilson home and working with Wendy Lock and Spring. And she's been amazing every step of the way. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
We agree.
We do. She's awesome. We love her. Kimberly is saying our land has a small hill located where we'd like to place the house. At what point can we find out if that location is okay for building? The whole house will not fit on this hill. Does Tilson level the lot hill first?
Yeah, so I mean, basically find the floor plan that you want, Kimberly, and we're going to figure that out at site evaluation. I mean, it's not going to stop us from building. But whether we incorporate the hill as part of the design layout or we level the hill off, what we don't want to do is create a hole that we put your house in either. That's going to cause you drainage headaches over time. So, it's without seeing it, there's just really no way to know for sure. But if it's going to fit on the land, length and width wise, we can handle what's there already. Yeah, there's not going to. You're going to be really hard pressed to find a piece of ground anywhere in Texas that we aren't able to build a home on. So.
Okay. Joss is asking, do we have to wait until the house is complete to pour concrete for a walkway, or can we do it now?
Joss, I'd recommend you get with your building superintendent. We want to make sure probably that we're done with all of our big, heavy exterior stuff because we don't want to tear it up. We don't want to crack it or put a piece of heavy equipment on it. Also, make sure that it's not going to cross anywhere. We're going to be doing underground electrical, underground water lines, or where you may want to do, if you're going to do irrigation or something like that later, or you want to do lights, put a piece of pipe underneath there, put a piece of 4-inch PVC underneath that sidewalk so that later on you can find that, dig that, and feed water line through that, irrigation line through that. But yeah, I just basically wait till we're done with the outside, but run it by your building superintendent and he will gladly tell you when it's time.
Right. Perfect. Scott is asking, do y'all only build on slabs or do you build on pier and beam also?
Yeah, Scott, obviously in the 90 years, we've built on everything. We've done pilings, pier and beam, stem wall, slab. But right now we are just doing slab on grade. I think we have a house that, we've investigated and we're doing a pier and beam. But broadly speaking, we do on slab only.
Okay. Brandon is asking, are the houses typically plumbed to install a water softener?
Not typically, Brandon, but we do have, every one of our design centers has pricing to put a water softener in the home.
Okay, perfect. A question from YouTube. Do you have to have at least
not to put the water softener in, to rough in for the water softener. Sorry.
Got it. We have a question. Do you have to have at least an acre of land to be able to build a Tilson home? No. Nope. You just have to make
10
sure
acres of land. Oh, no.
No, not at all. You just need to make sure that the house that you're looking to build is going to fit on your land when you take into account, setbacks and easements and all of that good stuff.
But, we've built on small, very small lots, like what I would consider postage stamp, but less than 10,000 square feet for sure.
Yes. Amy is asking, does the home need to be staked out and the soil tested within the 180-day price lock?
Yes.
Wendy is asking, can you all install multiple breaker boxes? For instance, one on the back of the house that can be dedicated for later pool installation.
We can. Obviously, that's not included in the price, but we'd want to know exactly what size sub panel. That's known as a sub panel. What size sub panel you're going to need, and we would need to get that priced out from our electrician on how to do that and how far it's going to be from the main breaker box, because that affects the price. So, great question. Yes, it can be done.
Okay. Jabo is asking, is there any problem if we have a metal shop garage built before the completion of our Tilson home? We can wait until after our Tilson home is complete, but prefer both be completed at about the same time.
Jabo's no problem having that done ahead of time. Particularly if you're just paying for it. If you're getting a loan for it, that might be a little bit different animal. This answer is responding to if it's not included in a loan. If you're just going to build that metal shop out of pocket, it doesn't really matter. We don't want to, I'd still coordinate it with the building superintendent because we don't want to tear anything up. But no, you don't have to wait till after the Tilson home is complete necessarily.
Okay. So Tara is asking, when will we be assigned a builder, after the foundation comes back or after we have signed off on plans?
After both of those, actually. So
right.
Basically, right when we have all of our permits, we have final loan approval, we have the foundation design back, because you have to have the plan signed off before we can either order the foundation design. Then you'll get assigned the building superintendent right before the house goes to construction, because we take a look at our job map, we look at their workload, we want to make sure that the person that gets assigned to your job is going to be able to dedicate the most amount of time, effort, and energy to that. So we wait right up until it's time to go out so that we can evaluate that properly.
Perfect. Makes sense. October, who's the one who was asking about the step down into the living room. She's still looking for land. She's asking if there's something she should be on the lookout for to make it more possible to add. They're dreaming about the rock wall with the step down.
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of them. So I wouldn't want to steer you in the wrong direction as far as a conversation pit, a step down. But I mean, obviously if the land slopes, that's going to help, but it's going to add to the cost for sure. So something to think about. But if it's really important to you, land that slopes front to back would help.
Yep. All right. Amy is asking, will Tilson install water softeners?
No, we will rough in for them, Amy, but then you're going to want to get with someone local in the area specific to that is way more familiar with the water, the chemical makeup of the water is what I would recommend.
Okay.
So a local company to that town or county area that's more familiar with that specific water types there.
Okay. All right. Julie is asking if this video will be up on our page so her husband can watch it tonight. Yes, it'll be wherever you're watching it now. So you're on Facebook. So it'll definitely be on Facebook. We also add them to our website, usually within the day after we do these. Linda is asking, are interior walls insulated?
No, they're not, Linda. Great question. So the reason being that if it's 74, we got return airs in every room, every bedroom. If we got the thermostat on 74, if it's 74 in this room and there's a 4-inch wall and it's 74 in this room, there's not really anything to insulate from. Some people want them for sound. Doesn't really do a whole lot for sound. It'll do a little, but there's no real benefit to insulating interior walls. We do have an option. If you want to pay us to insulate them, we will do that.
Yep.
But I don't want to sell you on something that may not do what you want it to do. So be very specific with your design consultant on what you're wanting it to do, because I don't want you to spend money for the sake of spending money.
Yeah. The only caveat that I will add to that is if you have an attached garage, that wall in between the garage and your house, wherever that garage is, that will be insulated. It's considered an exterior wall, but some people think of it as an interior. So that one will be insulated.
Yes.
Julie is asking, can we provide our own tankless water heater, or does Tilson offer that as an option?
We offer that as an option. Yeah, we will not install an owner provided one. But yeah, we do offer tankless water heaters, gas and electric.
Annie is asking, is the driveway included in the basic plan?
Well, and it depends on where you're building. So the pricing that you're going to see on Dawn's award-winning website, that will not have driveway pricing on there, because we never know if you're building on, like we were talking a while ago, a 10,000 square foot lot or 400 acres. So I don't know what size driveway you need. And again, we even have some customers, about 40% of our customers, that don't even do garages because they're building a separate metal building or barn, like you just saw someone ask about. So we don't want to be charging people for something that in the base price that they may not actually even need. So great question, but we can price it by the square foot for you at your design center. We can get pricing on that.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. Jesse's asking, if we want to build a shed later down the road, can y'all build one to match the house?
We do not, Jesse. No, we don't do sheds or garages standalone. We have to do it in conjunction with a home. Yeah.
And I think they also did catch this one. We will give you all the information about what's on the exterior of the home, so you can try to match that up with whoever is building. Diana is asking, we already had a temp electric pole in place. Do we receive a credit for already having that pole?
Great question. And the answer, unfortunately, is no. So it's in the base contract for all of our electricians. They give us a square foot price for the electrical service, and it just includes the temporary pole. And we don't really buy it from them, because what they end up doing is they set it out there, and then of course when the house is done, they pick it back up and they reuse it on another job site. So we're not really paying them for the temporary pole per se, because they're using them over and over and over on multiple job sites. So that's just kind of part of the deal.
So it's not really a line item to us either. So
no, we're not paying for it as a line item. Great point.
Okay. And then Elsaman is asking, we said we're not going to insulate in between walls. So what do you recommend for better sound insulation in some rooms, like a media room?
Elsaman, I'll tell you what we're trying out lately with all this videoing and audioing that we're doing, and we're trying it specifically in our Texas Grand Ranch location between the two sales offices, is those acoustical panels. We've seen people have very, very good luck with acoustical wall panels, and they even do them now that you can get like artwork done. So you can make it look like the American flag. You can make it look like the Clemson picture behind Dawn. Like you can actually go to, and Amazon has them actually. I've seen it. We just ordered two walls full of wall panels that we're going to try out at our Texas Grand Ranch location. So you may touch base and let's see how it goes, but that's what we recommend.
Okay, perfect. And that is the last question that I see.
We survived it. Man, thank y'all. That was great.
You guys had lots of great questions.
Lots of great questions today. I hope you got the information that you needed. Final thoughts, parting thoughts, Dawn, on this episode?
No, I mean, thanks for joining us. Thanks in advance for your patience, because we are definitely building in an environment unlike any other. So we're going along, and know that at the end you're going to have the home, no matter what it kind of looks like in the process. We're going to make sure that you have a completed home that's going to be held to our standards.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you all for doing this. Thank you for considering us. Again, we want you to leave here with just armed with a lot of information, get your questions answered. We have 11 design centers all across the state of Texas that are open 7 days a week with model homes. We have an award-winning website that's open 24/7, doesn't close. We have, of course, all of our social channels. We got Facebook, we got Instagram, we got YouTube. We have a lot of content that you can go get and consume and get your questions answered. Reach out to us on all those channels, and we hope to soon make you part of the Tilson family. We'll see y'all later.
Bye, everybody.